Guide me among those whom thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what thou hast judged. Surely thou judgest, and none can judge against thee, and he whom thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art thou, O Lord, and exalted be thee above what they set up besides thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is thy servant and apostle. Amen.
Greetings, supporters. Our new sponsor, Sister Sajdah Muhammad, through her jewelry company, is giving you a free sterling silver chain when you purchase your commemorative Elijah coin pendant. The link is in the bio.
You belong to yourself. You're an independent people, created from the nation of free people.
Yes, sir.
You don't need to go nowhere but to yourself.
Yes,
So the challenge is an education that enlivens us to do business. Business is the activity of life itself. Every creature is born with the inherent ability to attract out of this material earth what it needs to perpetuate its species.
Peace and blessings, family. I wanted to personally invite you to join me on September 3rd, 2022 at the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House from 3 to 7 p.m. We're going to be doing a fundraiser for the completion of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House and enjoying these last few weeks of our warm weather. And guess what? It's my birthday. So come on out, scan here to RSVP. Assalamu alaikum and peace be unto you, to everyone. Wow, y'all popping in the chat already. I see you all there. Praise be to Allah. I thought we would have a special talk this morning in honor of our beloved sister, Sister Minister Ava Muhammad, who returned to Allah this week. And I just wanted to share, and I hope you all will share in the chat with me, just the admiration and how much we love her. I met Sister Minister Ava in the 90s when I first came to Chicago, working in the office of the National Secretary. And of course, at that time, the laborers meetings would be there in the mosque. And I would just see her and really admire her. I didn't know her very well, even though I've known her for a long time. I didn't know her as well as I knew some of the other laborers that I ended up being very close to. But I remember just her steadfastness and just watching her in the hallways, of course, always listening to her. working with her on a couple of projects. But I think the most memorable moment was the last conversation that I had with her when she came over to me, and she was just beaming with excitement over the acquisition of the home of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And it was so funny because when she first saw me, she started the conversation and ended the conversation with "Who knew?" She kept saying "Who knew?" And we just laughed because when you're young, age seems like a big, differences seem like big gaps, right? So, 10, 15 years seems like huge. When you get older, everybody seems like they all part of the same age. But um, I think she always saw me kind of like as that little sister running around the mosque. And so when she saw me, she just said, "Who knew?" And, we laughed. But I'll tell you all about that. I'm going to share a clip from her that this morning when I got up and I started just kind of researching and sharing and just reflecting on the various interactions I'd had with her. I was really busy with a lot of the event planning and stuff that we used to do back then. So like the Stop the Killing tours and the Savior's Days. And of course, she was always involved in that. And I remember working very closely with her when we did the event at the Jacob Javits Center in New York. That was an interesting and actually dangerous event. But I remember that specifically. But one thing that I've been working on, and all week I've been putting together a plan for a business expansion that I'm doing. And one of my goals has been, if you know me, you know this, over the past, wow, probably 10 years or more, but definitely hardcore 10 years, is going into myself and studying myself and discovering God through myself, and then reconciling the aspects of my personality and moving myself out of this sort of corporate colonial way of thinking where our personalities are very siloed. I had like corporate Wendy, I had this Wendy, that Wendy. And so as I've learned to go into myself, I'm learning how Allah communicates through me, and in a sense, who I am to him, and some of the things that he, I believe, desires to communicate through me. And I found this clip of Sister Ava talking about that. So I want to play that for you real quick, and we'll come back and chat about it. I have a few clips, but let me see. We'll do this one first, okay? Let's check this out. I'm going to take myself off the screen so you can focus on
the art of being alone. Everyone is alone at some point in their life. And during that time, you have the special opportunity to develop a very deep, wonderful, flowing relationship with Allah, God, where you talk to him and he always answers you, always. Never say I didn't get an answer. You may not have gotten the answer you wanted, but you got an answer. And sometimes the answer comes directly from him into your mind. Sometimes it comes through other people. He will send people to you that will say things or show you things, and you know that that's the answer to the question you put forth to the God in your prayer. And so just do a very thorough self-evaluation so that you understand what you are saying. We have more than one self. And one of the goals in our spiritual development is to bring those selves into oneness with one another. There's only one I. When you say I, you say, well, I was telling myself something the other day. I told myself, don't do that. Who's the I? And who's the myself? They have to be brought together. These are the forces of nature within you. When Allah spoke to the angels and said, I am going to place a ruler in the earth, and one of them objected, he was speaking to the forces within himself. And one force within himself, which we know to be Satan, said, no, I'm not doing it. And he said, get thee out of here. He put him aside, but he did not destroy him. Why? Because he was on a continual path of working to perfection. We stand now at the end of Satan's rule, meaning Allah is standing at the point of complete destruction of the Satan of self. And so we have to be engaged in the same process, pulling together the opposition that we find within our own life. And I have a chapter called
Wow. Sorry, I was so into it. I hit the wrong button at the end, but wow. Talk about profound. And Sister Ava was always that, just always profound. And while I'm talking to you, I'm going to queue up another video that I found of her that I thought would be really beautiful for us to go over today. We're going to wait on that one, but I just wanted to queue it up so that we could see it. But let's talk about going into yourself and destroying the Satan or the devil within yourself. Let's talk about studying ourselves so that we can reconcile the various selves or aspects of our personality. See, this is an interesting thing, because the way Yaqub teaches us to think, the way of the world, but the mind of Yaqub is a very linear type of thought process, meaning that we meet people and we automatically put them in the box. We get attracted to one way in which they tantalize us. And so we say, that's the one I like. That's the person I like. I remember I was in a relationship, and he said something to me because he wanted to move forward in the relationship and get married. And he said, I just wish you would get your ass somewhere and sit down, because this, and he gave a description, is the Wendy that I love. And it was so profound to me. I knew in that moment that this is not going any further. We're not doing anything else, because you just broke off a piece of me and said, get somewhere and sit down and be this person, because this is the person I love. This is the person I want to marry, and forget all that other stuff. You see, that's a very linear way of thinking. And so what happens to a lot of us in relationships, even in business, you know, if you think about it, when you go into the corporate world, they hire you for whatever skill set, whatever technical service, or whatever it is that they hired you for. Sometimes they will even fire people for being something other than what they wanted you to be. So they might get all in your business. That's why when you go into work or into corporate settings, you don't let people in your business. You don't invite them to your house. Those are not your friends. Those are circumstantial relationships. Why? Because oftentimes, if those people find out certain things about you, they will discriminate against you, not based on your work product, but based on who the other part of you that they found out that you are. And so this was happening to me in this relationship where this person was like, just stop it. Stop with all that. I like this Wendy. And so when I heard Sister Ava talking about developing that fluid relationship with Allah, where you go into yourself and study yourself, I was just giving this advice to some of our younger sisters that were helping with social media and marketing for Sajdah House. I said, you got to go into yourself and figure out what Allah wanted to communicate when he made you. What was he thinking? He said, I'm going to create this person. And the family may call her Wendy. She may then get a holy name and it's Sajdah. But what am I trying to say through this expression, this face, these eyes, these lips, this skin? This is all an expression of my Creator. And so he's making a statement through my being, through my presence. So the idea is to go into yourself, just like Allah went into his self when he created himself, right? Out of triple darkness, go into yourself and figure out, who am I? What did God intend to say when he created me? What is this flesh? What is this vibratory tone that is mine? This vibrational footprint that is unique to me. What is that? Who is that? What is he saying through that? Right? So go into yourself. So when you find yourself in a relationship where somebody says, I just like this part of you, if your goal is to discover yourself so that you become one with Allah, then that's a dangerous relationship. That's why doing for self is important. Or at least working in an environment. Everybody ain't cut out to be business owners, but you want to work in an environment that allows you to be yourself because you spend so much time there. And so when you start to study yourself and he sees you on that path of discovery, then your talents and your gifts start to come out. You can look at yourself and say, there's something more to me that's trying to come out, that's trying to be birthed. And so he starts putting us in situations and circumstances so that we can go into ourselves and then discover him. What did the Honorable Elijah Muhammad say? He who studies himself finds Allah. So let's go to this next video from Sister Ava. And let's dive into this a little bit. And I'm going to take myself off the screen so that you can focus on Sister Ava. But let's do this because this is a sister who, whenever I would hear her, I would hear Allah communicate. I could literally hear the vibration and the footprint and the tone of Almighty God, Allah, coming through her in that very unique and beautiful way that she delivered it. And she defended Black men, Black women, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, like nobody else. But for me, she's such a study. She's always been a study of being yourself because as a young professional sister, when I met her, I was an accountant. I was fresh off of graduating with a degree in finance and accounting. And I saw her as a professional attorney. And I saw her working out as an attorney, but it wasn't like the attorney was separate from who she was. It was a part of who she was and a part of who her expression, how she expressed herself and how God came through her. And I studied that in her and I learned that. I said, it has always fascinated me that she was able to, it appeared that she was able to begin that reconciliation process and demonstrate that to us. So when she would come before us, she came before us as a legal mind, and not just a legal mind, but a minister, but as a spokeswoman or a spokesperson for Almighty God Allah. Somebody who went into themselves and found God and then expressed what she saw. So let's check this out. Let's listen to this one. I'm going to take my.
You don't know the universe because you don't know God, because you don't know yourself. Look at the sperm. There is intelligence in the sperm. It knows exactly what it wants to do. It goes straight for the egg. That is intelligence. The sperm does not have a brain, but it has a head and a tail. When the sperm makes contact, it's the first cell of life. That cell starts looking for a firm resting place. Then it builds a clot. There is intelligence in the clot. Then the cells produce brain. Without a head, you don't need arms. The brain is the first thing formed. The thing that is going to direct the arms has to be first. It is the head that calls the arms and feet into existence. This is why the white man works to destroy your leaders. Without a head, you cannot call a body into existence. This is why you are always without organization. You never have leadership. Your leadership comes up, and when they spot it as good leadership, they wipe it out. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that God had to develop brain in order to think through darkness. It took pain and eons of time for God to build himself up in the darkness. He was the light of himself and had light in himself. Since the basis of his life is electricity, he had light in himself for his own brain, from his own brain. He envisioned the sun and then called it into existence. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said Allah formed himself not from a mother, but out of the dark womb of space. Space and the darkness of it became his womb, and he came out of that darkness. Then the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, before there was sun, there was a woman. Allah came out of the womb of darkness with a womb within himself. Every man has a woman in him. If you notice, the male has X and Y chromosome, which has male and female part. The female has X chromosome. As Allah came out of that womb, the Holy Quran calls it triple darkness. He had a womb within himself. He studied himself, and from himself, he fashioned woman. She is his first act of creation. The woman is made after the womb, out of which God created himself, and in the woman is the secret of God. The universe, all praise is due to Allah. All of this is from Minister Farrakhan, just a few paragraphs.
My goodness. My goodness. Listen. What are we talking about here? Learning to go into ourselves and discover ourselves. And when we discover ourselves, we discover God. And so that's worth studying. That's worth going back and looking at how Allah created himself out of triple darkness. It's worth studying, because when I have to go back to this. I gotta say this one more time, because I know a lot of us, let me say it this way. I know a lot of us came into this world in a way that we think is not that attractive, or we feel like, well, we weren't planned. We think that we were oopsie babies, but Allah don't make no mistakes. He makes no mistakes. He makes none. Allah creates us because he has something he wants to say. You're his creation. So like the minister said, I think it was at the Criterion, he said, you have to go back to nature. You have to go back to creation. How does he make himself known? It's through his creation. So when you look at our Sister Minister Ava Muhammad, and she's so beautiful, you can see the energy of God flowing through her. And I just encourage, just during this period, but even going forward, that we make sure that we bless her, that we honor her, that we spend time with her words, because she gave her life to this. She gave her life to the defense of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. You know, she's the one who put those study guides together. You can go back and read the history of that, because I realize that a lot of times those of us that are older, we take for granted things that we know. You know, I was sharing with someone that it was very different coming in the nation when the minister was younger, because he was moving around, and we would just pray that he would just take a nap and then we could go lay down too. And he was so wise to have, you know, all of us little young soldiers running around, but he was running around more and busier, in fact, than we were actually. And to just see him interacting with the laborers, to be able to see him drive down the street, to be able to see him walk into a building unannounced. I remember one time we were planning something at the Salam, and this was right before the Million Man March. And we were all at the Salam. We had the radio station there. And the minister was actually going to be obviously being interviewed by the radio station. So I remember coming up with this idea to do these breakfasts where during the morning drives on the radio stations, they would broadcast live from the Salam. It's kind of something I kept doing. I was doing that at Minimally Invasive Vascular Center too. But I remember coming up with that idea, and I told Brother Kamal and Brother Ishmael about it. And so we did it. We got the Salam together for breakfast. We had these chefs there, and we invited these people who were helping with the committee members and people who were helping to plan the Million Man March. And don't y'all get all spooky like, oh, the breakfast, because that's how we did it. That's how we drew the people in, right? With the omelets and all of that. They was healthy. And I remember back then I rarely ate because I was always so nervous, especially with the minister coming around. And so I remember this particular day, I think the broadcast started at 7. It went something 6, like maybe like 6 to 9. It was like a 3 or 4 hour window. And I think Minister Ishmael had gone on and started talking, and I think Brother Leonard said a few words, and we were looking for the minister. And so we're all looking like, okay, we don't see, his team, so we know he's not here. And I'm like, man, where is he? And I remember calling over to the palace, and I don't know if I don't remember if I talked to Sister Alita or Sister Sophia, but I was like, Assalamualaikum, where's the minister? And they was like, he gone. He left already. He comes walking through the door, no security, just coming on in and sat down and talked to the radio station. So that kind of movement keeps you on pins and needles. See, today normally is kind of planned when you see him moving around, but that kind of movement keeps you on pins and needles, because literally I remember hanging up the phone and I'm headed back to the front, like solarium where we had the radio station, to tell Minister Ishmael and Brother Kamal that the minister had already left the palace, and he came walking right into the door. So as you can only imagine, we was all nervous, and he sat down, and we were grateful. It always is amazing when he appears, but just imagine, you're working, you're at the mosque, you're wherever, one of the entities, and the minister comes walking up. And so that was the reality. What did you say? That was Aletha. Aletha said, I spoke to her. Yeah. I called over there. I remember now. I said, Zamit, she said, he's gone. I'm like, what? Sure enough, he walks right in. But just imagine, I remember being, in my office, and to have all these great people circulating around you. I owe them so much, because, just as a young person coming in, they didn't have to take time with me. They could have just been like, look, I'm busy, little girl, leave me alone. But Brother Wazir, may Allah be pleased with him. Sister Aletha and I were just talking about him the other day. He took the initiative of getting me to Chicago. And when I tell you, for probably a solid year straight, that man taught and taught and taught and taught. I probably watched that video, the accomplishments of the Muslims, maybe 10 or 15 times. I learned so much about doing for self and about businesses. And it was like Wazir was on a mission. And little did I know that, shortly a year or so after meeting him, that he would return to Allah. And so then I understood his urgency. And literally, he taught me so much that I am to this day still unpacking some of the things that he taught me about business and the economic model and all of that kind of stuff. And so a lot of the things that I started to do in business, like the mind of an entrepreneur, even the Black Muslim Business Directory and the ecosystem, came out of some of those conversations. He was the first person to tell me that I needed to infuse the teachings into the policies and procedures. And then there was, you all probably seen the post I put on Sajdah House, on the Sajdah House page, where Brother Abdullah and Brother Wazir taught me about the cracked atom. And they literally cornered me. Brother Wazir would talk to me so much that I would try to sneak out. And I remember whenever I would see Brother Abdullah coming, I knew it was going to be a long conversation. And so I would try to sneak out, because I'd say, okay, him and Wazir getting ready to talk. And I tried to sneak out the door. And I remember Brother Abdullah said, Assalamu alaikum, sister. And you got to know his voice. He said, do you know about the cracked atom? And I remember looking at Wazir. I don't know why I looked at Wazir. I went like this. I was about to come up with something, because I was trying to get up out of there, because I knew this was going to be a long conversation. And I used to sneak to the back and go talk to Minister Ishmael. That's how we became so close and family, because I'd be like, come back there and hide back here and talk to him. And Wazir would call, sister, you need to get back here. But anyway, Abdullah said, do you know about the cracked atom? And I went, and Wazir said, no, she don't know. Sit down, sister. But I begrudgingly sat down and listened for an hour. And when it came in my mind to create this statue for the front yard of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House, called the Cracked Atom, that all that just got downloaded, and what he taught. And then there's some iconic conversations. Another iconic conversation, maybe 2 days before he transitioned, was one with Brother Wali Muhammad. And we had a virus on our computers. So I came up with this idea of this automation and all this stuff. We went out and bought all these computers. And somehow one of them got a virus on them, or two of them, or something. And so I had put this 6-foot table in the office downstairs, and I had the two computers there while I was transferring information and trying to debug it. And I'd spent some time in computer engineering, so I knew what I was doing. But so as I was sitting there, because I'm waiting for something to download or transfer, it kind of looked like I was just sitting there doing nothing, but I really wasn't. I really was working. And I remember Brother Wali coming in, and him and Wazir talked, I want to say from noon to about 6 p.m. And it was a very powerful conversation. And the interesting thing enough, which again came full circle with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House, is that Wali talked about copper, and he talked about using copper to combat illnesses and to conduct electricity. And here we go today, right, with the copper from the house and the coins, and copper being the new oil and the new gold. So, and of course, another significant person in my life at that time was Mother Tynetta, and you all have heard that story. And mother and I became very close. The closeness that I had with her, I became very connected to her. Even after I wasn't around her a lot, I could still feel her, and I could pull up her face when I saw her lecturing somewhere. I remember one time, where was I? It might have been when we were in China. Might have been China. It was somewhere in Asia, maybe not China or South Korea, somewhere. And I remember pulling up a lecture, or I think she opened at the mosque, and I pulled that up, and I could just connect to her soul. And still to this day, I can connect to her. So I'm so grateful. Aletha says, Sajdah, you calling the spirits this morning, Brother Wali, former editor, a masterful mind. Yeah. And so these were the type of people that we were surrounded with on a day-to-day basis. And Sister Ava was one of those people, and she just was walking wisdom. And, she'd come downstairs to go past and go to the bathroom, and she would stick her head in, to give the greetings and to talk. And she would come in and talk to Brother Wazir, and they would start talking. And she always gave such sage advice, sister to sister sage advice. And it was just very powerful. And I can't even say that we worked, but it didn't feel like work, because you were just around all this wisdom all the time. And it was interesting, because now when I look back at the sense of urgency that a lot of these people that I'm mentioning seem to have, now knowing that they wouldn't be with us, I found it to be very interesting. And when I'm not going to really fully share the last conversation that I had with Sister Ava, because it was about nation building. And it was so, so powerful, so powerful. And I just remember how she looked into my eyes, and there was a dark firmness in her eyes when she looked at me and shared with me what she wanted to share about nation building. And I promise you that all of these people, these spirits, as Sister said, that I'm calling, poured this nation building mindset into me. And to the point where, as I went out and moved around the world, I started to feel this sense of urgency. And I would cry at night in my hotels and beg Allah, like, please bring me back home. Give me something to do. Let me just go back. Let me just be stationary for once so I want to help. And then I ended up acquiring the home of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So you'll learn about these beautiful historic soldiers for Muhammad when you come to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad house. That's the beautiful thing about it. And we all have the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to thank for that, because he is and was and remains vested in our self-improvement. And I've always felt that he protects us and puts this spiritual hedge around us. And it's like we're in this cocoon. And so while we're in this cocoon or in this womb, we're able to learn. He gave us the study guides through Sister Ava. And we're on this quest, this journey for deeper self-improvement, a little different from the way it was during the first resurrection. But this time it's a deeper dive into self-improvement and deconstructing Yaqub's mind from our DNA and our vibration. And then while we're learning and improving and getting better and making mistakes and not doing the right thing and trying to figure out how to get it right, he put this protective hedge around us. And Sister Ava was always there to protect and defend him while he hedged us so that we can study and improve and get better. And it's such a powerful, powerful lesson. The covering that he gives us. I remember when he went on the very first World Friendship Tour. And I remember praying for the safety of him and the team. And after that prayer, I went into a meditation, and the message that I received was that this was our protection, and that this World Friendship Tour was our protection. Why? Because he went around the world telling the world who we are and the injustices that we were facing here in America, and raise the awareness. Because I know as a world traveler that most of the time, the only thing they see about us on television is, especially Black women, either we're strippers, we're video vixens, or we're somebody on the Housewives, and all we do is fight and catcall and throw drinks in each other's face, because that's all they see. So the image of us and of who we are, they don't get that. And so when the minister went around talking to them about who we are, talking to the people in the various delegations and the locations he went to, talking about who we are as Black men and women here in America, and our sojourn here in America, our struggles, raising that awareness, that was our protection. I literally felt that was a way of staving off some of the attacks that were coming our way. And so Sister Ava was just always right there in defense. And so I'm so grateful for her. I'm grateful for her life. I'm grateful for what she's done for our minister and ultimately for us, our nation. I'm grateful for the sacrifices that she made. I'm grateful for the time that she would take for with young sisters like me back in the day. She would take that time. I remember being in New York. We were working on that event with the Javits Center, and it was a dangerous time because there were people that didn't want us there and didn't want us to put this event together in the Javits Center. And she just always had the right words to say, but they were words that ignited a sense of empowerment inside of me. And so, and she would just take the time. I remember I was walking across, it was like 2 or 3 days before, when we were kind of wrestling with the unions about, because in a union house, when you do events, you can't bring in your own chairs. You can't do your own thing. They're like, oh, it costs $1 a chair for us to move chairs in. And we were kind of there, just kind of monitoring the situation so they wouldn't overcharge the minister for this event. And I remember, I remember walking across, and she was just standing there, and she stopped, and she would just say something and just kind of go deep into your soul, give you something empowering, and then send you on your way. And that's what she did for me the last time that I saw her. I think it was in March. And so I'm very grateful. Very, very grateful. So thank you all. I see you all in the comments. Thank you all for being active and involved today on this. It's a very special day. And we all have to know that Allah is the owner of life and death. And so we have to submit to his will and be grateful for his interference in our affairs, and just move forward and continue to go into ourselves and study ourselves and find out who we are and why we came into existence and what communication, God wanted. And let me say this one last thing. And this actually is kind of a takeoff from Thursday's manifestation class, where I answered some of your questions. And I wanted to share this one last thing. Because in those DMs, when we took time off when I was traveling, you guys put a lot of questions about manifestation in the chat or in my DM. And there was a common theme of how do you deal with envy and jealousy and hatefulness and stuff like that. And, my advice Thursday was, and still remains, for you not to make a God out of your haters. Don't make a God out of people who are envious and jealous of you. Seek refuge in Allah against the envier when they envy. That's what the Holy Quran tells us to do, right? That's in the book. Seek refuge in Allah against the envier when they envy. And remember this: what's for you is for you. What's for me is for me. What's for that person is for that person. And there really ain't nothing that any of us can do about it. Nothing. In fact, about it, don't even walk around and be jealous or envious of somebody else, because they didn't have nothing to do with it either. So you can't be mad at somebody for a blessing that they received. They didn't give themselves the blessing. Allah gave them the blessing. He didn't give it to you. He gave it to them. He gave you something else. So respond by going inside of yourself and figuring out who you are and vibrate on that level so that you will merge and come together with people who vibrate on the same level as you. So, all right, y'all, listen, make sure you all go and RSVP for the event on September 3rd. Make sure you get your commemorative Elijah coins. You see the donation link is going across the bottom here. Support the completion of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House. The finish line is in sight. We are almost there. We've got a really important event coming up this week, and I hope you all will attend. So go out there, make sure you RSVP. We definitely need you to RSVP. Just like with all of our other events, security is in effect. So don't bring any big bags. Don't bring anything that you don't want security to turn you around. No firearms, no smoking, no alcohol. We got non-alcoholic wine, courtesy of Magnolia Crescent Farms and non-alcoholic winery. Let me tell y'all something. They got the coolest thing. It's 24 karat halal certified non-alcoholic champagne. The bottle is beautiful and it's got these gold flakes in it. It's just dope. Y'all got to see it. I mean, it looks like it should be $1,000 bottle. If you know anything about exquisite spirits, this looks like it should be a $1,000 bottle, but it's not. But I would tell you to make sure you get it, because the way the supply chain and stuff like that is now, when you come to the event, bring you some money to donate and bring you some money to get you some 24 karat halal certified non-alcoholic wine. It's great for a celebration when you just want to have sober sophistication, as my sister Karima coined that term, sober sophistication. It's just absolutely amazing. So make sure you come out and make sure that you are donating and supporting. Listen, in other communities, especially in the broader community, history is monetized by entrepreneurs. So the business people own and support, okay, the preservation of the culture. In our community, we rely on philanthropy. We think business people like myself are crazy for investing fortunes into preserving our history. But that's how it's supposed to be. That way we control and own and monetize our own story. So we have to get ourselves used to and accustomed to financing our own freedom. And our freedom also comes in telling our own story. So make sure that you make a donation. Go out there, scrolling across the bottom, SajdahHouseDonations.com, make a nice donation. Or if you also, we got a few left. If you are interested in the commemorative Elijah coin pendants, that link is in the bio on Instagram. I'll play the commercial before we go out, but make sure you get that, because then you get to wear a piece of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House. So thank you all today. Thank you for your beautiful activity in the chat. Thank you for rolling with me while I just kind of walk down memory lane and talk about these beautiful spirited people that have influenced my life, and to take a moment to thank Allah for the life and sacrifice of our beloved sister, Ava Muhammad. All right. So peace and blessings, family. We will see you all next week. The Mo Today series on Black Muslim businesses. I don't know who we got on the show. I have to find out from the team who we're having. All right. Peace and blessings. Yes. The coins, somebody asked, Brother Lamont said, is it there on the site? Yes, you have to, but you got to go through the link on Instagram, because I didn't have that many of them. So I'm gonna make you go through a little bit to get them. Go on Instagram at Sajdah House or at Mo Today Universe. Click the link in the bio and you'll see a link for the commemorative Elijah coin pendant. And the few that I do have left here, I'm going to sell out. I don't know. Inshallah, we won't make it till Saturday with pendants left. We'll have graded coins left. And so you can, but you need those. You're going to need the graded coin for your membership. But I think the the pendant is also just nice to wear. All right. Peace and blessings, family. I'm out of here. Have a happy Saturday. I got to go get my workout in, and I'll talk to you all soon. May Allah bless you. Thank you, and thank you. Peace and blessings.
You belong to yourself. You're an independent people, created from the nation of free people. Yes, sir. You don't need to go nowhere but to yourself. Yes, sir. There will be a great separation. Yes, sir. So I said, it is on now.
The college is meant to prepare you for your future. That the time dictates that if we don't do something for ourselves as a people, we will be destroyed. And the aim of the enemy right now is to take us out.
We have God with us. We have Him as our guide. Yes, sir. We don't have to stand around here and ask the question, what must be done? Yes, sir. Get up and let's go and do something. Yes, sir. We cannot sit down. We cannot lay down. Yes, sir. We must get up. Yes, sir. And go to work.
Do you know what real joy is in life? Visioning something and bringing it into reality. That's real joy. Do you know what the next step in joy is? Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell in unity.
Tonight, you need to fasten your seatbelts. We're going to hear from some of the greatest minds in the world. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of trusting our future and the future of our children into the hands of those who don't love us. I believe we need to revitalize black leadership.